Greetings, all you humans and monsters out there. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din coming at you with another episode review of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. This time it's Season 4's Episode 14 titled Cornonation, where we see Marco and Jana going all across Muni, handing out invitations to Queen Eclipse's coronation ceremony to anyone and everyone who will possibly listen, which is especially funny because all three of these people come into no sort of play in the episode proper. Meanwhile, Star is on her way to see her mom to convince her to come to the coronation in order to more or less just smooth things over with the human population. So many people actually are so beholden unto Queen Moon. They're so sweet on her that if she were to show any form of support, it would actually do wonders for getting Eclipse recognized. However, we also see that, Marco. Well, apparently Marco was supposed to spell check the invitations, and coronation was misspelled as cornonation, which Tom just kind of says to roll with because, well, the whole of Muni is so obsessed with corn anyway, why not just go with it? We also see that the Queen Moon's little, I guess you could say, civilization, community, what have you, has actually grown over time into a full-blown town for the most part. And we even see that Manfred had actually managed to get himself un-yada-yada'd, but we don't know how because they just kind of yada-yada over the specifics on how he got un-yada-yada'd. But Manfred is still being his belligerent, mean self by saying that no one here would ever care for Queen Eclipse in any way, shape, or form to actually go to her coronation, which is kind of displayed throughout the people in the town as they are discussing it and just saying that they would have no part in wanting to go to something like this. Eventually, they do run into a Moon who says that things just kind of got out of hand here and just kind of waves over Manfred's comments and all that good stuff. And when Star hands over the invitation, River makes it very known that he has no interest, especially because he's going bog beast hunting, and he kind of tries to drag Tom along with it as well. Meanwhile, Star makes it known that this will be her last thing to do as in terms of, ruling Muni or in any way, shape, or form. This will be the last thing she does for Eclipse before she steps back to have, as she puts it, a normal teen life for the most part. Moon is very taken with Star's growth over all this time and her rise to responsibility and her commitment with Muni, but she also makes it known that she's not that interested in supporting Eclipse because she doesn't much care for Eclipse or the way she does things, and she still has her misgivings for the most part, but she'll consider it for Star if nothing else. And for the most part, we do see that there is a big turnout for the coronation ceremony, and even the Magical High Commission has shown up as well, but that's to be expected. We also see that the pony heads are all just going in on Eclipse, giving her a bit of a makeover, which actually turns out pretty nice for the most part. And Star's just happy that, Eclipse looks like a true queen, and this might be the time for her to finally ascend to the throne. And we even see that Meteora has been dressed up as well, ready to become the true princess of Muni. However, Rubariat makes it known that Eclipsa has to have a coronation song, but one of the strings on Eclipsa's guitar is broken, so she goes flying off to the monster castle in order to get a spare. But Star does notice that former Queen Moon has shown up, and Star is very happy because it seems like everything's coming together, and Tom even suggests that they take some time off, spend some time together and just get out of Muni for a little while. However, Rubariat makes it known that the curtain time is coming up in a few minutes, and Eclipsa has not returned, so Star goes looking for her throughout Monster Castle, only for her to discover Eclipsa's guitar on the ground and Globgor's crystal pulverized, showing that Globgor has escaped. However, in a surprising move, Eclipsa goes down to the populace and warns them that Globgor is free and they should return home immediately in order to protect themselves. However, the Magical High Commission, not trusting Eclipsa and feeling that she was the one who freed Globgor, tells everyone to remain where they are in order to keep them safe, and they completely lock down the stadium as most of Muni is already there. Meanwhile, Marco decides to put on a talent show in order to get the people kind of settled down, not to incur any panic or, rioting or anything along those lines. Meanwhile, Star wants to address Eclipsa just to find out where Globgor could have gone, with her not truly trusting Eclipsa anymore, especially after the events of the previous episode. But Eclipsa claims that Globgor probably went to the bog because that was one of his favorite places. The bog naturally being where former King River is, where he lays it all out, saying that, makes it kind of known that he might have been happier not having a child or just living a free lifestyle, or at least to a certain degree that's what I picked up from it. But this is interrupted by the arrival of Globgor in the bog, and Star makes the scene and gives chase to Globgor as, River tries to capture him thinking he's the bog beast. So Star transforms and goes flying after Globgor, saying that he needs to come with her. Globgor catches Star, but after River makes it known that that's his daughter, and Globgor, being a father himself, lets her go and simply tells her he wants to escape before anyone realizes that he's free, in order to keep Meteora and Eclipsa from being imprisoned because of it. However, Star tells him that they have already been imprisoned because people already know of him being freed. So Star proposes that he come with her in order to get things, settled down, to calm the situation for the most part. Meanwhile, in a very fun little moment, Marco, Tom, Rubariat, Fool, Duke, and Jen are all just performing on stage for the people to see, and it actually is going over pretty well. But Star arrives with Globgor in handcuffs to show that he is docile, he is tame, everything is under control, and just de-escalate the situation as a whole. And for the most part, it actually works, because the people seeing Globgor, not in a not so menacing light, actually gets them to, start to consider that maybe he isn't all that bad. But Romulus, pops down saying, no, he's a human eater, he's vicious, he's terrible, if he's ever freed again, he'll just go on a rampage, I'll just seal him back up in crystal. But Omnitraxis says that's not enough anymore. He's been freed once, there's nothing to stop him from being freed again, should he just be imprisoned. And Hekapu even goes even further, saying that they can no longer trust Eclipse as queen because of the freeing of Globgor, and suggests that they seal her away as well. And despite a very touching moment between Globgor and Eclipsa, where they see each other for the first time in a long time, Eclipsa makes it known that she was not the one who freed Globgor from the crystal, because she already went through that. She's had plenty of opportunities to free Globgor, and to free him at this time makes no sense. But Romulus is completely against this and decides to just go ahead and reseal Eclipsa in the prism. This enrages Globgor, and he just goes at it with Romulus and the entirety of the Magical High Commission. And Star does her best to calm things down, but Moon is having none of that because he wants Star protected. It's her child. She's just like, no, don't get involved. This is dangerous and all that. Meanwhile, Meteora, seeing her father for the first time ever, frees herself from the cage by dipping down, just like she was taught by um, Glossaric, and she goes racing off to be with her father through the fire and flames with a guitar riff in the background and everything. No, not really. But, everyone notices that and calls out to Eclipsa, and when Globgor sees them, he, pushes Omnitraxus to the side and starts blowing out all the flames, and he's reunited with his daughter for the first time ever. And this touches the hearts of all the human people, because it's always touching when there's a baby involved, and Eclipsa is very touched by the moment and all that good stuff. And even the Magical High Commission is kind of just touched by this moment as well. And Globgor makes it known that if what needs to be done is for him to go back in the crystal for his family to go free, then he is willing to do that. And, naturally Romulus is all over that. It's just like, back in the crystal you go. But River disputes this, saying that this man went through so much to protect his child. Isn't it worth the benefit of the doubt to keep him freed? Hasn't he earned at least an opportunity? But Romulus disputes this, saying that he's a human eater. He'll just be freed again by his, monster-loving wife and blah 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 and all that, this and that and the other. But Star is completely against this, saying that no, Meteora, Eclipsa wouldn't do this. This wouldn't be the time to do this. With everyone already here, you think she would do it under cover of darkness or something like that. But the way it was done here makes no sense for Meteora. And ultimately, Star accuses Romulus of freeing him, saying that he would probably benefit the most because he hates them the most. He has the most personal hatred towards Meteora, Eclipsa, and Globgor in general. And ultimately, Romulus owns up to it, saying that he went for it and did it, which shocks everyone there. But he says he only did it because, it was to show the people that Meteora hadn't changed, that Globgor wouldn't change, that he's just as much of a monster as always, and his monster-loving wife would just, choose him every time over Muni in general. And while Hekapu is just like, yes, we have our doubts towards Meteora, towards Eclipsa, towards Globgor, we would never go this far, and that makes you the villain of this scenario. So they end up arresting Romulus, which really took me off guard, because it's just like, I knew Romulus was very much, had this mad on of hatred towards Eclipsa and Globgor, especially after the events of the one episode where she tried to use his body in order to free Globgor. For him to go this far, it's just a bit too much. But Globgor ultimately says that that doesn't really change anything. The Mumins probably will still fear him regardless. But Calypso ends up saying that maybe it's up to the people to decide what should happen, as this affects them the most. And she asks the people to decide whether or not, Globgor should be set free. They may not like her for the most part, but they trust her enough to be at her coronation and accept her as queen. She asked them for this leeway at most as well. And they're kind of taken off guard because they're not a democracy, they're a monarchy. And they end up turning to Queen Moon, asking her to decide. But she's just like, I'm not your queen anymore. I shouldn't be making your decisions for you. So the people kind of decided, just like, well, you know, he may be scary, he may be monstrous, but he went through all that to save his child. He's willing to go in the crystal to protect his family. And even Buffrock, who, was given a change of heart through the tadpoles he got, is just like, for him to be a proud papa, for him to care about his family like this, doesn't that show that he deserves the benefit of the doubt? So the people agree with Buffrog, which is a nice little payoff to having Buffrog come into the situation. And, the people, rally behind Buffrog, saying that, yeah, maybe Globgor truly has deserved, our it's giving him the benefit of the doubt, at least, to just give him an opportunity. And, on that day, Globgor's heart grew 3 sizes. And even Hekapoo, while not completely happy with this outcome, is willing to roll with it just for the sake of the people. So we get this nice, sweet group hug, and, we end things off with Rubariat saying they still need to have the coronation song and, get things for the most part underway for the true coronation. So we end up having this nice little performance, this nice little ditty with, this duet between Globgor and Meteora, which is this very sweet song and all this. It's a very nice, it's very sweet, and, everyone kind of has these nice little moments with Fool Duke, Rubariat, Moon, River, Tom, Marco. It's just a very nice moment all together. And we end things on a very sweet note with Meteora, Globgor, and Eclipsa, a loving family, for the people of Muni. Only for us to see, I'm forgetting the crow's name, but Mina Loveberry's crow, Sebastian, there we go, hanging overhead, an omen of doom if there ever was one. But, despite all this, despite everything, this was a very good episode. It was nice to just kind of see things just kind of wind down into this fashion. There was no big clash, there was no big confrontation, but on that, I'm not really surprised, because why would there be? It was made such a notable thing that Globgor wasn't a villain. He wasn't a bad guy. He actually had this deeper love in his heart, and he cared very much for Meteora and Eclipsa, that it would make no sense for there to be some very final confrontation, this menacing moment. But to have it be Romulus who was the one who freed Globgor from the crystal, it it really did take me off guard, and it showed just how, bigotry can be the biggest deterrent for people as a whole. But, you know, it was a sweet episode, and we just have to see where things go from here on out. You what will become of Globgor? Will things go wrong? What will become Eclipsa? Will they actually be good rulers for the whole of Muni, this joining of monster and human? Because that makes the most sense. To have these two as the new rulers of the kingdom to show the integration of two people. But hey, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about this conclusion? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you wish that something different had actually happened for the conclusion? Or do you feel that there should have been a little bit more? Do you feel that we should have actually seen something more befitting of a mid-season finale? Because now it's just a mad rush into the final episodes. And with the fact that Mina Loveberry seems to be reconstructing the Solarian army, how will that come into play? Will Moon have to ultimately make a decision at the end of things? Will Star actually get to just be the young girl that she wants to be? And what will become of her in general? She's no longer a ruler of Muni. She no longer has to be around to just be a part of this anymore. It's Eclipse's show from here on out, and it's up to her how things go from here on out. So what part will Star play up into the finale? Will she come into play from here on out? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike, because I got a little disjointed in a lot of places. But that's just because there was so many things to really truly consider in this course of this episode, in the course of this series, up to this point. It really makes you wonder, where are we headed with all of this? It seems like we're probably on the best course towards integration. And I'm just at a loss for where things could possibly go from here on out, besides the confrontation with Mina Loveberry and, of all things, the legacy of Eclipse's mother. That's the thing that really gets me, just the fact that it's the legacy of her mother clashing with Eclipse's more integrated and accepting lifestyle. But I've gone on long enough. If you liked my videos and want to see more of my reviews of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon. And if you want to find me on any forms of social media out there, feel free to just Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I am everywhere, for better or for worse. And until the next video, remember to always keep your family close to you, no matter how monstrous they may be. Bye-bye.